It's my great pleasure to have with me today Andromache Karanika, who's professor in the classics department and also chair of the department. And as you may remember, Andromache was with us as our first guest in the first series of Cooking with the Professor back in spring 2020, and it just seemed appropriate to finish off this fourth season of Cooking with the Professor with her. So welcome, Andromache.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Annalisa.
Thank you for coming. So, Andromache, a year after the start of the pandemic, and it's been quite a year, right?
I think we can, talk about it in terms of resurrection, rebirth. So we started last Easter. It seemed like going to the tomb, and now this Easter, actually the Greek Orthodox Easter was on the 2nd of May. We celebrated, as if you're coming out of a cave. So a little bit more properly this time.
Yes, which is also the meaning and the significance of Easter for, the Christian tradition. It's a moment of rebirth, of coming out of the death of the and being reborn to a new life. So what has been the greatest challenge for you during this year, and what also has surprised you in the way of an opportunity, maybe something that you have learned or that you have cherished this year that wasn't obvious before, and maybe you want to take it with you into the new normal?
Well, it was a year of isolation and a lot of moments of grief for friends who went through difficult times. But at the same time, transitioning to online teaching, it had its surprises, it had its moments. I certainly enjoyed having my own student, my own college student, my daughter with me. So that was the silver lining in the whole process. And we were, as a family, I think it was a time of bonding, and that meant a lot. That's something to keep.
Yes, absolutely. I felt the same, I have to say. And my heart went out many times to those people that I knew were alone, facing, the pandemic by themselves, closed in maybe small apartments. And that must have been incredibly tough. By contrast, like you, I had my family here the whole time. Sometimes it was even overwhelming because I still have small kids, whereas yours are grown-ups. But definitely, I've seen moments of my children's life that I wouldn't have otherwise witnessed, and that will stay with me too. So, talking about the recipe or recipes that you have chosen for this episode, what did you choose and why?
So I chose the Greek Easter cookies. This is a must for any Easter feast.
Right.
The central thing for the Orthodox Easter in Greece is, of course, the whole lamb on the spit. This is the tradition. I mean, if you are during Easter in Greece, you can smell it. You can follow the smell. In a way, it's kind of a continuation of ancient sacrificial rituals. And of course, the sacrifice is kind of an expression of gratitude. And certainly we felt it this way, that we were able to do it even on a smaller scale. But at the same time, it is a community event. It is an event that brings people together. And so this is something we were grateful to be able to do. But I chose the Easter cookies because, I think most families have a lot of memories just making these cookies together. The recipe is a little bulky. I mean, you can make a big quantity, a lot of cookies. And I remembered when my kids were small, we would do it together. They would take the dough and they would make it into different shapes. They would make funny shapes like a tortoise or a snail or anything they wanted. So it's a kind of a different communal activity. And it is something that brings the generations together. So this is one of the reasons I chose it. It's also very easy. You can't go wrong with it. And it's very adaptable. And it's something that you always have, not only for Easter. You just adapt a little bit the ingredients instead of using, let's say, that particular resin that I use, the mastic, which is a very distinct flavor, and I do talk about it. You can simply use orange juice and orange zest. And that makes the everyday cookie. And this is something like if you go to a coffee shop in Greece, they don't just serve you coffee. There will always be something right there. And usually it is a cookie. And, you know, this is an adaptable recipe. So that's why I chose it. It feels like home. And as much as I enjoyed having my family here, I also miss terribly my family in Greece. I miss my parents. It's been now almost 2 years that I haven't seen them, and I can't wait to go back. And of course, go to a coffee shop, enjoy some coffee with a cookie, you know, in a nice leisurely way with them.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's been the same for me. I haven't seen my parents back in Italy for about 2 years. I'll be going there too over the summer. I can't wait to see them. I'm not looking forward to traveling as such. I don't know how you feel about that, but yeah, it's been such a long time. I definitely can't wait to see my family and close friends. So yeah, that really sounds like going back to what used to be our normal life before the pandemic. So little by little, we will reconquer normality, I guess. So is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about the recipe or the occasion? That's
It's, as I said, it's just a very simple recipe. It doesn't take that much time, and it's a fun activity to do with your kids.
Yes.
So enjoy.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll copy the recipe and I'll do it with my kids. I'm sure they will enjoy it too. And for all of you out there, thank you so much for being with us for the 4th series of Cooking with the Professor. Thanks, Andromache, for being our first and our last guest. I wish you all out there a happy summer, and goodbye and enjoy.
The Greek Easter is coming. And as we prepare for the Greek Easter during Holy Week, one of the most beautiful memories for everyone is the cookies of Easter, the Easter cookies. In fact, it's so common in Greece that anytime you go to a coffee shop, you're expected to have some kind of cookie there. But the Easter cookies are something quite special. So I'll show how to make, I'll use a very easy classic recipe. So what we do is, first of all, we keep butter in room temperature, and we beat the butter together with sugar for quite a bit. I have 2 sticks of butter in my mixer, and I'm going to put 2 cups of sugar. While the butter and sugar are mixing there, I use this very distinctive mastiha. In fact, this is what gives this very Easter flavor. So mastiha is a kind of resin that comes from a tree in a really special island in Chios. In fact, it's one of the few places in the world where you can find these things. Luckily, you can also order it on Amazon these days. So you take this, which is hard, and you beat it a little bit with sugar like that, and that gives a distinct, amazing aroma. You can smell it. I wish I could pass the scent that my kitchen has right now, but this is also what gives a very distinctive flavor, a very distinctive Easter flavor, as I call it. This needs to go on for a bit. At least 6 to 8 minutes. It really needs to mix well. Now, once I'm ready, I'll start putting the eggs. I need 4 eggs. When the mixer is getting quite a workout, I just cracked 3 eggs in there, and I'm going to put the 4th right now, to be followed by half a cup of milk and then half a cup of orange juice to give it again another citrusy sort of flavor. Some people like to do either milk or orange juice. I like to mix them both, actually. Milk and orange juice ready. First one for milk. And now this is becoming fluffier. In the meantime, I keep doing this for the mastica with a little bit of sugar, because that's gonna make it an Easter kind of cookie. I will now put the orange juice, again, half a cup, in which I also put 1/3 of a teaspoon of baking soda. And actually, once I put it, it makes this kind of fizzy rather effect. I also have the orange zest, which also is going to give it this citrusy flavor I personally like. And now I'm going to put the mastica. If you don't have mastica, you can easily do without it, or simply put vanilla. And now we came to the final moment where we actually put flour, in which I also have 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Now, how much flour? Recipes can be a little iffy there, so we'll count how many cups. I have 5 cups of flour right there, but my guess is it's gonna need a little bit more. And of course, you don't just pour the flour in, because then it's gonna be messy around here. And certainly we don't want that. So I'm gonna take it easy and start putting the flour a little bit by a bit. My mixer is getting a bit sluggish right now, and that's because it does need more flour. So I'm now to 7 cups of flour. This is like 3 times this. Well, the good news is that we don't need a lot of mixing once you put the flour in. Oops. But that's it, and it will now be ready. See, it already starts forming. So once we put quite a bit of flour, I actually counted 8 cups, and my mixer became sluggish. This is the time when you really need to use your hand. So you start taking the dough, and I do this, you can do all kinds of different shapes, and actually this is one of the loveliest things. So I just start doing that, and then kind of put it together like that, and then that is going to be ready for baking. So I just need to make it a little thinner. I mean, if you eat a lot, it's going to make us fatter, but that's okay. And this is what the Greek Easter cookie looks like before it gets in the oven. Actually, before I put it in the oven, one thing that I will do is I'll put a little bit of egg with water, just to get that shiny kind of feeling. Here I'll do some of my favorite shapes as so I can do this easily. Becomes like a little snaky snail, kind of looks like a little snail. Or I can just do this as I did before. In fact, I think I need to make them smaller, like these are better than these, because they have baking powder after all. So I just continue, and we have quite a bit of dough, and that's gonna yield, we'll see how many cookies. I now put just the yolk with a little bit of water, and just mix that really well. See, I have quite a bit of dough still left. and I already have 2 trays, so it yields quite a bit. One thing that I've always found fun, and this is an activity one can do with the children. In fact, it can be a wonderful children's activity. You just do this with your hands. I mean, that's how you do the kuluraka. And then you can play with different shapes. So it's really one of the fun activities for Easter. Before we put it in the oven, let me just make sure they're going to be shiny. Like this. With the egg yolk and water. And actually, if you like, you can put some sesame on top and make them really delicious. Not everybody likes it. I mean, you don't have to, but I actually like the sesame. And they're ready to be baked. I'm going to be doing my last one. I mean, it's so much fun. I just think, I mean, I have this nostalgia when my kids were small and we would do this together. Gone are the days, I'm afraid. And I think this is my last one here. It's actually really easy. And I have to say, it's even therapeutic to do this. And of course, what is certainly therapeutic is the scent, the smell that I have right now in my kitchen. Oh my God. So the yolk and the water came exactly right, as I just make sure they're going to be shiny enough. And then I can put a little bit of sesame, but I'm going to leave one batch without sesame. We don't exactly have to, but you know, I personally like it. So I'm going to put a little bit more sesame in these ones. In the meantime, let's take a peek what's happening in the oven. Oh, baking powder and baking soda does its miracle. We still need some time. I have them in 325 Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes, not much more. And the first batch is out of the oven. Voila.